Alright, so I had an idea that as I get closer to the end of me being in high school, that I wanted to do sort of like a week by week series of just things that I learned about, you know, anything really, myself, science, philosophy, music, just anything. So let's get into it. This week, it went by quick. First week back from spring break, so it was a little slow at the start, but it picked up. It went quick as the time went on, but the first thing that I learned that was pretty fucking crazy is that when you think about your lungs, you think about, empty, air sacs, air goes in, air goes out, but it's quite literally not. It's every model you see of your lungs is, the bronchi to the bronchioli to the alveoli being these, lines and stuff, but it's literally inverted. That what you're looking, the alveoli and everything, the bronchioli and the bronchi are hollow holes that go through your lung. And so what happens is that because of those individual little holes, that's how it works and stuff. That's why, asthma's bad, because it's those holes getting inflamed. So when they're normally like this, they shrink like that and, don't work as good. So I assume you can probably guess why that's not good. But, what else did I learn? What else is some cool shit that I learned? Spanish biliterate. Okay, here's something about myself that I learned. So I'm working to get my Spanish biliteracy. I can't even do the fucking English part, I guess. My Spanish seal of biliteracy in my state. And I didn't really realize that, it's hard. Well, not hard as fuck to do, but don't fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy. So for those of you who don't know, the sunk cost fallacy is essentially when you invest so much time into something that you essentially go, well, I can't back down now, I've put so much time into it. And I've realized that getting so absorbed into that just like takes away so much from it, because it's so easy just to get burnt out on it. And when you get burnt out, you become apathetic towards it. And once you're apathetic, you just don't care about it anymore. And it's so hard to actually put your best foot forward towards it. So my process of moving towards it has been really annoying. My teachers time stuff so shittily. We'll learn material one class and then have a quiz on it the next, while also prepping for a presentation the next class after that. So it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? You should be doing better at this, You've been doing this for multiple years. I don't know how you're this fucking... It is what it is. I can't... I can't change shit. Hydration is a major key for muscle fullness. If you couldn't tell, I'm not crazy hydrated right now. I'm a little bit dehydrated. Sorry, I'm tired as shit, man. It's almost midnight. Oh, it's 12:02. Okay, well there you go. No, but it's just generally cool that I'm not horrible at it, with the amount of time that I've spent focusing on the craft of bodybuilding and hypertrophy, that I've gotten so good to the point where I can recreate it, or recreate the ideal proportions. So that to me is pretty sweet. I also learned that you're better than you think you are. You are your biggest hypocrite, if we're being real. Everybody else is so caught up in themselves that they don't really have the time to properly judge you unless you ask to be evaluated by them. If not, then they don't care, man. They're too caught up in themselves. So if that's what's keeping you from going into the gym and practicing, just getting better at with yourself, I promise you, the people you're most nervous about judging you are way too focused on themselves. Half the people you see that you think would, treat you like shit if you're potentially overweight or super skinny or anything, they have body dysmorphia. They are super self-conscious about how they look. So it's just one of those things where when you get out of your own head, you can sort of see into others, if that makes any sense. But yeah, so yeah, you are better than you realize, because we're practicing for the speaking portion of getting my biliteracy seal. The criteria is I have to do it for 5 minutes-ish of just like consecutive Spanish, and I was able to do 13 rough minutes, which is way more than I thought I'd be able to do. But I did it. I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to hit it, or it would just be terrible. I'd barely get there. But I was able to just like yammer and keep talking longer and longer about it. So I was literally my own biggest hypocrite and my own biggest, Debbie Downer, So just sort of realize that you're better than you think you are. Which I guess in a sense is one of the marks of proficiency. I forget which Greek philosopher it was, but the smartest man knows what he knows not. So I forget the exact term of it, but there is sort of a proficiency curve, per se, where the higher, like the earlier you are, it goes down sort of like that, and it is how much you think you know compared to your actual capability. And so as you start out, you think you know so much, you're like, wow, I really get this. But the more you learn about it and the more time you progress, you realize you know less, you don't understand as much. But a lot of people fall in this little subsector sort of down here, sort of that, like, as it's going up, where they completely underestimate themselves. And that's where people fall a lot, is because if they don't give up during the realization they didn't know what they didn't know what they thought they knew, it's the thinking that they don't know and underselling themselves. And that's what drives people away from so much, because they just think, yeah, man, I'm not good at it. But they haven't given themselves the actual chance to evaluate themselves, but also see how good they really are. And when you do something like that and just sort of see your capacity for greatness and your just sort of, ability to do the task, you realize that you're way better than you thought you were. And that's just one of those things that is definitely a major takeaway that I'm going to be using throughout my entire life, and I want each and every one of you who've watched up until this point to use, because it's genuinely super useful. But that's about it really for this week. There isn't, crazy much for me to talk about. It was a pretty dull week in terms of life lessons, but tune in same time next week for another evaluation as my time comes to a close in high school. So thank you all so much for watching. Like, subscribe, be good people, touch grass and everything. Or what was it? It's like, drink water, touch grass, be good people. I'll see you in the next one. That shit's so tough.